Men were killed in the middle of an Athens Park neighborhood last night.
And we study doing skits, I had to triple up. Niggas talking about a pie, had to give me one.
That's where the answer's at. You know we on San Pedro Street. All I know is bloods. Tell them niggas come deep by me. Posting in a pool, 50 rounds on the front. Taking trips to the opposite, back to back, it's a killing.
What's up? Know where you from, bro? I know where I'm at. Park Bloods. I know where I'm at. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. Now I'm shaking. I feel it. Yeah, all right. All right. I'm at the spark though. I just told you I'm from London. I'm good enough. All right. Yeah, for sure. I ain't tripping on that. Yeah, all right. On Park Bloods though. Yeah, all right. For sure. Let me know you at.
Rap news, street politics, the best hood channel on YouTube, and we back in South LA, about to go through arguably one of the deadliest wars that's broke out in the city over the last few decades between the 11A East Coast Blocc Crips and the Eastside Athens Park Bloods. Now, you know, we finally got to 100K on the channel, man, 100K subscribers. We really appreciate the support, the love everybody been showing to the channel. We gotta give a big shout out to all our members, man. Everybody that's really made this happen. Our members is for sure the backbone of the whole situation. But everybody that's been rocking with us from the beginning, y'all stay tapped in with us. We on the road to 250,000 next. So y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, man. And we gonna keep providing you with this content. But like we said, man, we back in South LA in this Athens and Green Meadows area. About to touch on some hoods that's really getting cracking in the city, and things are really starting to heat up lately. And you know, we talked about both of these sets in multiple videos when we talked about the most deadly gangs in Compton and Willowbrook, Gardena, West Side, South Central, East Side, South Central. These hoods is on the borderline of a lot of different cities, but like I said, 11A East Coast Blocc Crip is really gonna be in this Broadway, Manchester area of the city. And the Broadway, Manchester neighborhood stops at 120th, which is where this Athens neighborhood begins. And this Athens Park Blood territory is really gonna be centrally located around the actual Athens Park, but also in the surrounding areas of the park as well. So with Athens, man, they really going from 135th all the way up to 120th Street. 120th is gonna be the border between them and 11A. A lot of activity be cracking on 120th, but they also gonna go from the 110 all the way to Avalon Boulevard. And like we said, we know Athens Park, the actual park, is for sure gonna be a main hub for them. But where it really get cracking at, between 130th and 132nd, between Jarvis and San Pedro, between them South Bay Garden Apartments or the Villas, man. This is the main playground for APB in this section. And across Avalon, they gonna border some hoods that they clicked up with, being the West Side Pyrus, where they form NWA, the Nellis West Athens, the collective between them, West Side Pyru and Campanella Park in Compton. And across Avalon on 120th, they also gonna be really with their main counterparts, the Miller Gangsta Bloods. Now really the Millers and the Athens gonna be one and the same at this point, pushing AMG, Athens Miller Gangsta Bloods. And the Millers is gonna go from Avalon to Central and from 122nd all the way to 118th Street, where they gonna function at Magic Johnson Park and them Dory Miller Apartments, man. But like I said, both of these hoods is really gonna be at the Villas off 132nd and Jarvis. Now they also gonna have a connection on the west side across the 110 with them Denver Lane Bloods, man. Now the Denver Lanes also gonna play a part in this war, but we know they mainly be beefing with the Hoovers in this section. But the Denver Lanes is gonna really be bordering the 110 just across from them 11A East Coast blocks as well. And some notable figures that we got from Athens, you know, we got RJ Mr. LA, we got Seti Mac, and a notable name y'all may know from Millers is Earl Swavey. Now, you know Earl Swavey's resting in peace at this time, and we gonna touch on that situation as well.
Fuck them other niggas, cause I'm down for my niggas. If you need the bell, I got it now for my niggas. Diving in the water, I drown with my niggas. Let off rounds with my niggas, but it's fuck them other niggas.
That's where the answer's at. You know we on San Pedro Street. All I know is bloods. Tell them niggas come deep by me. Posting in a pool, 50 rounds on the front. Taking trips to the opposite, back to back, it's a killing spree.
Percocet hard, got my blick, I might pop some. The shooter on drive, yeah, some niggas that I shot in public. But you ain't gotta pick sides, them niggas hoes and they all suck. You do it up and go live, but I got 50 for the eye blood.
Now, really, the main beef that's really going on between the AMG for sure is really gonna be with 11-8, man. This is going to be their main enemy. And like we said, 120th Street is going to be the front lines for these hoods. So 11-8's going from 120th all the way up to Imperial. And from the 110 all the way to Avalon. Imperial and Avalon is going to be definitely a hot spot for the Blocc Crips. They also going to, of course, be on 118th in Main, 116th in Town, 116th in San Pedro. And Main and San Pedro is going to be the two main streets that the 11-8s and the Athens share together. These are the hot spots. Now you hear us say the Blocc Crip with the 11-8s, man. They are still an East Coast hood, but the only East Coast set in South Central that is a Blocc Crip set, not a neighborhood set. But in actuality, man, it's pretty much one and the same. They're no different from any of the other East Coast hoods in the city. But we also have the 190s and the 1200 blocks, which are also Blocc Crip East Coast sets in the city. Of course, the 190s are in Carson and the 1200 blocks are in Riverside. Like we've touched on with the ECs numerous amounts of times, these dudes function together, they move together, their membership is damn near interchangeable between some of their homies. So Blocc Crip is really just another line that they pushing. We also see some Blocc Crips on the other side of the 110. We've touched on them, and they also get along with neighborhoods. Now, even though they do have some neighborhood beef, the Blocc Crips at this point are pretty much going to be tight-knit with the neighborhood Crips. But like I said, with the East Coast, one and the same. Now, we know how big the East Coast car is, but from 11-8, a notable figure y'all may know is Low 5 coming out the ECBC.
I was flying front line on the opposition. I'm from Left Main Street where we handle business. We can talk about some shit, but it don't even matter. Watch me throw a couple shots, a lot of niggas scattered. Couple niggas got hit, they ain't make it after. They ain't making none. And we study doing skits, I had to triple up. Niggas talking about a pie, had to give me one. Got me feeling like I'm Pac, I had to hit him up. Let that nigga on the scene, they try to pick him up.
And you know, we touched on Lo-Fi previously. He's somebody that's really been bubbling up in the city with the rap game as well. And if I'm not mistaken, man, Loaf is currently in Tehachapi right now with a release date potentially set for 2026. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but last I heard, Loaf was sitting down. Now, things have kind of changed up on this 11-8 side, where we've seen 11-8 at one point beefing with the 9-8 main streets over here and beefing with the 11 Deuce Broadways. Now, we heard that the Broadways and the East Coast have kind of cleaned things up recently, maybe like a ceasefire or whatever it is. And we all know where the main streets lie in they beef with the Hoovers, a hood that they used to get along with and beef with the neighborhood car with. Now they pretty much rocking with the neighborhoods east side and west side, and they beefing with the Hoovers all the way. So both of these hoods are surrounded by a lot of enemies and a lot of allies as well. But the way they be getting down, it's like they don't see nobody else, because this war is so concentrated in this area between these two sections. But to jump right into it, man, like we told y'all, it's really been heating up in this situation, and we can really be seeing some shit crack off in this Athens area. So just Sunday, like we said, at them Villa Apartments being a main hangout for Athens Park, we done seen 5 people shot right outside these apartments, 2 men killed, and a young boy was also injured in this situation. And like I said, this is one of these underrated wars that not a lot of people talk about, man. But trust me, when 5 people get hit, they gotta talk about it. Just like when them 6 people was hit in MacArthur Park. No matter what side of the city, you gotta shed a light on it, man. 5 people hit is crazy over here with 2 already confirmed dead. But you know, we really started to see things heat up between these two hoods on 11-8 East Coast Crip Hood Day in 2023, when presumably and allegedly some Athens Park members had killed an East Coast member named Hellboy, again on 11-8 Hood Day in broad daylight on 113th and San Pedro.
Teenager shot and killed near a South LA school this morning. Police say the 17-year-old was gunned down in a car-to-car shooting at San Pedro and 113th Street, just steps away from Gompers Middle School. And you can see dozens of crime scene markers in the street. The suspect is described as a man in his 20s wearing a camouflage hoodie.
Now, some people gonna get on us and say that wasn't in 11-8 Hood, this. Technically 11 Deuce neighborhood Crips. But again, it's in this general area of 11-8, and it was an East Coast Crip member. And this sliding back and forth on hood days is not something that's gonna be surprising as we keep going, man. This seems like for sure a main thing with Athens Park. I'ma just keep it real. But aside from them 2 murders right there, man, things have really been heating up in the last 5 years. In 2020 alone, we seen 12 murders between these 2 hoods. Now, not saying everybody that got hit was from either Athens or 11-8, but all 12 of those murders happened in they hood. In 2021, we seen the number go from 12 to 11 murders between these 2 hoods, in the 11-8 block section and in this Athens Park section. And this section is not that big. It's probably like 15 blocks going north to south. And in 2020 and 2021, we done seen 23 murders. Now, you know, based on the geographics and the placements of these hoods, you may see sheriffs getting involved, or you may see the LAPD getting involved. But for the sheriffs, this is technically the Central Patrol Division, where they'll have Compton and South LA picking up some of these cases depending on where these hits is being done at. So in 2022, in the South LA Patrol Division, again, not including Compton, but some of these may bleed over into the Compton station, but the South LA Sheriff Department seen 14 murders dedicated to this section in 2022. Now, out of that 14 in 2022, only 5 were solved. In 2023, for the South LA Sheriff Department, there was 13 murders, and only 2 of those were solved. Now, again, depending on what blocks things hit on, it could be sheriff or LAPD, but again, that's just the sheriff numbers, and you see a low probability of things being solved, especially in that first year. But to get cracking, man, and to jump into these cases, like we said, with APB, it seemed like they love spinning some shit on a hood day. And they got a few main clicks in their section, man. They got the 124s, 127s, and 132s. And what we seen on their 127 hood day in 2020 was another crazy skit that they try to play out on the 11-8s, man. So on December 7, 2020, you know it's popping. You know everybody's outside, and it said that a few members from APB was chilling at the park waiting to go to a party. We got Anthony Norris, Corey McClendon, Bohart Leonte, and a member named Popo. So in the midst of these dudes waiting for the location to get to the party, it said that McClendon pulled up, put Bohart Wilkins in his whip, Anthony Norris pulled his whip up, and Popo was seemingly following these dudes, headed away from the park on Athens Way, going up north and getting on the Broadway headed towards 120th, that 11-8 East Coast and Athens Park front line. So with McClendon being in a gold Nissan and Norris being in a blue Fiat, they bend off Broadway, going east on 120th and make their way to 120th and Main. Now, like I said, Main Street is one of them streets that connects both of these hoods, north and south. This is where they ran into somebody that they felt beyond a reasonable doubt was from their enemy hood in the 11-8 block, Kemio Boyette. Now, you know, it's late night outside. Kemio Boyette, 25, black, looking like a prime suspect, sadly enough, in this area, man. So it said these dudes spun the block on Kemio 3 times, made 3 passes just to make sure. So at this point, these dudes was really sure that he was from 11-8. But I think the only thing that they did know is he wasn't from Athens Miller, which is the crazy part. But at this point, man, they proceeded to jump out on Kemio and fire multiple rounds at him, eventually hitting him in the stomach before they slid off back toward their hood. Now, the crazy thing is, Kemio ended up calling the police, and when the police got here, he made a statement and gave a description of the gold Nissan that had slid up on him and did that. Now, the crazy thing y'all gotta realize, man, with police, it's certain police that's assigned to these areas, that's assigned to these hoods. And especially if you grow up in these hoods, the police watch you grow into the hood. They end up knowing your name. They already know your homies. They know the older dudes around there. They become a part of the hood for real. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm talking about. All the gang police is really a part of the hood just like anybody else because they sit over there and they study this shit. So it was only a matter of time before they was gonna come across this gold Nissan and this blue Fiat. And that's exactly what happened in January 2021, just a month after they hood day, a month after the skit. So at that time, They bump up Anthony Norris, and somehow, some way, they got him in the front seat of the car on the recorded body cam, which was played for the jury, and it got him saying which one is his car, which he said the blue Fiat was his car. He agreed to speak, made a crazy incriminating statement, and he's already checkmarked. But I'm gonna tell you, that's not even the straw that broke the camel back. Like we said, Corey McClendon is actually Anthony Norris's blood cousin. It wasn't until Corey McClendon got that heat on his ass that the whole play was over with. Corey McClendon, originally a co-defendant in the case, ended up testifying in trial for a plea deal, man, for some leniency on this murder that he fully signed up to commit with his homies and his cousin from Athens Park Bloods. And you know, just how I got all these details is just how Corey McClendon gave it to the people. He went through their Hood Day celebration, said that he put Wilkin in his whip, Norris followed him, Popo was there, and they slid on dude to make a statement for their hood for the most part. Now, of course, like any other snitch would, he put it all on Norris and McClendon, say both of them jumped out and did the dirty work. He was just the driver. How convenient. And then he talked about that member Popo, who seemingly had nothing to do with it. He could have really just been trying to go to the party and following these dudes. You never know how it played out. But nonetheless, man, in 2022, McClendon helped the jury find his cousin Anthony Norris guilty of first-degree murder. Also in part because McClendon sat in a cell with the confidential informant. Ran the whole snitch play down with him. Didn't even know he was talking to a CI, but lucky enough for him, he kept his story straight, because when detectives listened to what he told the CI and lined it up against his pre-plea agreement statement, they found that he was telling the truth in both, and they took his little plea deal. So that situation right there helped Anthony Norris, who's currently in Lancaster prison right now, to a 35-year to life sentence. And you know, the crazy part is, I believe Bohart Wilkins wouldn't have even went down if Corey McClendon hadn't have said nothing. Now, I know some of y'all gonna say, well, Anthony Norris was already starting to crack. Man, you get in the front seat of a police car and start talking about, yeah, that's my car, you already on a bad note. But we can't say he fully is the one that made this whole thing go down. We for sure know Corey McClendon is. But Bohart Wilkins was in the car with Corey. So I think the only person that could have placed him there, other than Norris, of course. And the thing is, since Corey and Norris went down because of both of their cars, the gold Nissan and the blue Fiat, detectives ain't know anybody else that was a part of it. Just them two. So somebody had to tell for a third man to get caught up in this. Now, crazy enough, Bohart Wilkins ended up catching a 211 in 2021 right after the murder. So it seemed like he was already a sitting duck, and the police was just waiting for Clinton to make a statement. Like, bam, man, throw that little 211 out. We don't care about that. We want the whole body on Wilkins. And that's exactly what he got. And he's been facing the body since June 8th, 2022, sitting in Men's Central Jail. But, and it's crazy, you know, you make a plea deal and you snitch and you do all this shit. All your homies is down. We got one already in prison. Another one probably not finna get out this jam. But Corey McClendon is still sitting in the county jail on a $2 million bail for this murder case. What did that telling get him? Crazy work, man. But like I said, man, there's been a lot of back and forth shootings between APB and 11-8.
That nigga gone, he ain't make it through the last beef. And on the joint, you can catch me in the back seat. Get up close so you can see how you blasting. Yeah, I'm from the block, I hate pies with a passion. Try to come and play with us, yeah, we play with automatics. Got 50 on this bitch, like, here you can have it. Like,
So on April 23rd, 2017, we seen a member by the name of Poppy catch a bullet at none other than the Villas, 131st and San Pedro. These guys just love being there. This is where they at. So Kai Poppy Grant was walking outside them apartments, and allegedly a member from 11-8 came up and did that to him, but he survived. It was a nasty one, but he survived. Now again, this is back in 2017. This event right here is just another event that led up to the ones we just touched on, but this was a crazy one, man. So like I said, 11-8 slid right down San Pedro, a street that I told y'all connects all the way from Imperial, all the way down to El Segundo, all the way down to 135th, running right in between this 11-8 and APB hood. So, you know, a lot of people may not understand how situations go in the hood, but when your homie gets shot, man, 9 times out of 10, somebody gonna call your phone and tell you, get to the hood. Come over here right now, the homie got hit. It's time for everybody to get to politicking at y'all main hangout spot, whether it's the park, them apartments. It's gonna be a bunch of niggas there ready to politic, figure out what's happening and what's the next move. There's gonna be some niggas there that you probably ain't seen in a little bit. Hey, somebody don't show up to that, it may be a DP, depending on what homie it is and your track record up until that point anyways. But after Poppy got hit, it said that Athens Park was deep after this situation, man. It said they was between 30 and 50 deep in the villa apartments after this mode. And trust me, these dudes was looking for some get back. But there's gonna be some scrutiny based on exactly who was looking for that get back. So it was 3 dudes, Ricardo Mixon, Deshaun Armstead, Baby Turtle, and Daniel Hill. Now, Mixon was from Millers. Baby Turtle and Daniel Hill was from Athens Park. They was in the mix of all they homies in the villas, man. And they ended up linking with an OG from their hood named Speed, Thomas Speed, and Davion McKinley, amongst other people, of course. Now, after the shooting, you know the hood is hot. The police was pulling over there. One of them police honorary members that I told you about that knows everybody in the hood, Manuel Armenta, he pulls up and tries to check everybody's temperature. He sees all these people I just named, of course, some other people as well. And, you know, he's just basically notating that these dudes is deep. Let him tell it. He don't want nobody else to go slide, but we're going to talk about the deputies in another video. But nonetheless, these dudes is all congregating on the day of the shooting on body cam video. Everybody that went on this next slide was videotaped before they did it. But after shit dies down, man, the folks dip out. Everybody probably go their separate ways. Again, Poppy made it out, so they probably had word that he was stabilized, everything's good. It said that Speed and Davion McKinley tuned they little homies up, twisted them little things in their back, and sent their ass back up San Pedro towards the 11-8s. Now at this time, just like every other time, just like they did with Kimio, if you in this hood and you look in any kind of funny way, your name is probably gonna be called, man. And that's Sally. What happened in this situation on the 116th in town? Like I said, straight from the Villa Apartments, these dudes hooked the left on San Pedro, went north past the 120th, and bent that corner on the 116th in town where them apartments is. Now, you know that dead end on the 116th in town, it's cracking right there. I'm not gonna say too much, but it's cracking right there. That's where they was headed, towards them apartments. And when they got there, they see a male and a female, both 23 years old, standing in front of some townhomes. And you know, it's said that this young man and this young woman, Aaron Roseboro and Shakiri Chambers, was not gang affiliated. But I have to keep it real. Aaron Roseboro had on a New York hat. Now, I'm not saying he was affiliated, but he had on this NY hat that all the neighborhoods wear. And we know where we at, 11-8 East Coast Block Hood with the NY hat in the middle of their hood. It's not looking good. And at this point, this is when Ricardo Mixon and Baby Turtle jump out. Ricardo got the stick, he got the full rifle out, hit Roseboro 5 times and Chamber 4 times. Chambers, sadly, rest in peace, was killed immediately. Roseboro, again, rest in peace, was said to have died later at the hospital, but Mixon jumped out, letting off rounds, and Baby Turtle, looking like the dude off Harlem Nights when they was popping the stick, he stood back with a little pistol and said to have shot them pistol rounds into the living room of Roseboro's home, where his mother and his father was at, and they was on the ground crawling when them shots jumped off. Now, all 3 of them dudes ended up jumping back in the Audi that they rolled up in, distinctive whip, and came back down San Pedro on camera. The whole thing was recorded, a true skit. And it didn't take long for detectives to piece that together. Mind you, this was all done in the same day. Allegedly, 11-8 Blocc slide, APB slide next, and this time you kill a female and the dude. It's hot as hell in this section. But what was even hotter was them microphones on them policemen. First, we got Daniel Hill, sentenced to 50 years in Pelican Bay, life without parole. He was 20 at the time of the hit. He sat down and participated in an interview with detectives discussing how disgruntled he was on how his older homies put him in this type of situation, and proceeded to identify himself on the tape. He said he was ordered and pushed to do it. So Thomas Speed and Davion McKinley, he admitted to them dudes putting the battery in his back, and he was not happy about it. Then that takes us to Ricardo Mixon, 70 years, currently in Salinas Valley, life without parole, 19 at the time of the hit. He also sat down and participated in an interview with detectives and cried when he spoke about the situation on how he saw his homie leaking like that. And he also leaned towards being forced to do this move. He also seemingly was upset that his homie sent him on this mission. Now, at least that's neither here nor there. Like I said, he was 19 at the time. Hill was 20 at the time. They was both adults. They made their own choices, but we know how this shit go. We're not gonna say too much about that, but that's what it is. But Baby Turtle, Deshaun Armstead, who was 24, the oldest out of the three at this time, he's also in Lancaster doing 70 years. Guess what? Life without parole. But the thing is, he took a different route. He seemingly stopped off in the Crazy Rider hood in Pico Union, got himself a fake face, a CC, and a SSN card, and went to Vegas. But man, things wasn't that easy, man. He posted on social media that being on the run was stressful. But when the police caught up to him in Vegas, man, he for sure provided that fake name with the DL, the CC, and the SSN. This nigga was finna apply for a line of credit with the folks. But they wasn't having it, man. He ended up going down. All these dudes, life without parole on this hit. Crazy situation, man. And you know, like we spoke on, there's rappers from both of these sections, man. We told you about RJ Mr. LA, Low 5, Earl Swavey, but somebody that's tied into Low 5 and the 11-8 side of this situation is Low 5 Big Homie. Now, he didn't go down for killing another blood in this section, but he did go down for a murder that was kind of scrutinized between him and his co-defendant. Now, like I said, he went by the name Young Loaf or Looney Corleone, but his real name is Khalik Benz. And him and his co-defendant Trayvon Willis ended up killing a man named Darian Elliott. Now, it was said that this was over some drug territory that the 11-8s wanted to expand on. But the key thing is, it was said to have came from a member who was in some sort of a favorable position in the 11-8 hierarchy. So basically, the call came from up top from a dude named Baby G for Loaf and his co-defendant to, you know, kind of take this dude out. Now, this happened all the way back in 05, but both of these dudes ended up getting caught in the situation and kind of blaming themselves in the cell together while they was being recorded by the folks. Now, I don't think any of these dudes made a statement ultimately incriminating one another to the folks, but they did have a recording where they was kind of going back and forth on calling each other a snitch and kind of making implications while tensions was high due to the fact that they now went down on this case because of a call that came from up top. But that was just a little backstory on a member that we see is really spearheading the beef when it comes to this media outlet entertainment shit. Low 5 is somebody that's been really dissing hard since Hellboy got killed on that 11-8 hood day. But his older homie Young Loaf is still in Ironwood today, of course, and he don't parole till 2041. And like I said, if y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but Low 5 himself is also in Tehachapi behind them walls. And like we touched on previously with the alliances that these hoods have, a lot of different hoods have been bought into this beef between 11-8 and Athens. Hoods like Westside Pyro and Campanella beefing with 11-8, and the war between Denver Lane and 11-8 intensifying. So we seen a situation way back in 2009 where a member from 11-8 named Damian Oliver, aka Infant Animal, was somebody who was really trying to get his name out there in this war between the Denver Lanes, the Millers, and the Athens. Now, October 7, 2009, him and some of his homies from 11-8 ended up going over to the Vermont station in the Denver Lane Gangsta Blood hood and looking to press the issue. So it said when they got there, they ran into somebody named Ishmael Banks. And of course, how it usually jump off, it said that Infant Animal banged on Ishmael, and Ishmael said, "Hey, I recognize you. We done bumped into each other a few times at this station." And he went on to say, the interactions that they both shared 2 times prior when they ran across each other. It said that Ishmael and Infant Animal, as well as one of the dudes that was with Infant Animal, ended up shaking hands and kind of dispersed to the side. Now, as Animal and his homie stepped to the side, 3 other dudes came out the cut and banged on Ishmael again. At this point, as everybody knows, that's a problem. You already told these dudes, they still on it, it's gonna result in a problem. So Ishmael, feeling the pressure, he said he was doing whatever he could. He was texting his girlfriend, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to take his mind off the situation and kind of ignore it, hoping that it'll blow by. But Infant Animal wasn't having it, man. He ended up pressing the burner to Ishmael's neck and pulling the trigger on him. Now, of course, this made a mess at the Vermont station, but luckily, Ishmael survived them close-range shots, man. But the crazy part about it, Infant Animal takes Ishmael's phone and texts his girlfriend, DLBK, whacking out Denver Lanes in the text message to Ishmael's girlfriend after blowing one in his neck. Now, we can all say Infant Animal was tripping, and it didn't take long for Ishmael Banks, who again survived that crazy incident. He picked Damian Oliver out of a lineup because, like I said, this man had bumped into him before. Animal just wasn't having it this day, I guess, man. But he got picked out of a lineup, and he's currently doing 55 to life, currently in Soledad. Another dude that doesn't have a parole date till 2041 in this war. Now, it's said that at this time, 11-8 had about 200 members, and that stabilized between both of these hoods. They're pretty equally matched when we talk about membership and the links that they go through to put in work for their hood. Now, like I said, this situation between these 2 hoods have transpired for decades, as we saw with members like Baby Kiko and Lil Evil in the 90s from 11-8, where they used to press every blood dude coming off the bus on Imperial and Avalon. It said that B-Dogs coming from Centennial High School, whether they was from Athens or bounty hunters, would catch the bus and just be around this Imperial and Avalon bus stop, which again is right on the borderline, right on the corner of 11-8 hood. Now, it said that one day Kiko and Lil Evil waited at the bus stop along with 8 other 11-8 East Coast members to see who they was gonna bump into that day. And it said as soon as the bus came up, Baby Kiko tried to go to the front. One of his homies pulled him back, and he went to the back door and ended up seeing 10, what he felt like was blood members in the back of the bus, and ended up letting off shots into the back of the bus, where he hit and killed Corey Williams, who was riding in the back of the bus with his homies. Now, with Lil Evil and some more members being around him, Baby Kiko and Lil Evil ended up going down on that case. And it said that Baby Kiko even made statements about the events that led up to the shooting that day. Now, not saying he got paperwork, but he did talk about the role that he played and what led up to that shooting that day, man. But again, that's over 30 years ago. And as we see, Lil Evil, as of 2019, had just put in 3 petitions to get a resentencing based on him not being a trigger man and him just saying he was just there at the time. All 3 motions were denied in 2019, and he's still sitting behind them walls, man. And to speak on a more recent situation, like we said with Earl Swavey from Miller Gangsters, he was an up-and-coming dude out of this Willowbrook, Athens area, who had ties to dudes like Jay Worthy, ASAP Yams. He had a name in the industry, man, but coming out the Millers, he was definitely around the members, but he ended up losing his life in January 2022 at a party in downtown LA. Now, it was said to be gang-related. I can't say if that had anything to do with his hometown beef between dudes like 11-8 and Carver Park, but it was said he was rolling in the whip and some people he was with in the car started busting at somebody at the party, and them dudes inside the party started busting back, and Earl Swavey got hit and ended up losing his life. But he actually also stayed between 130th and 132nd and Jarvis at these villa apartments as well. So that just shows you how tight-knit Millers and Athens actually are, with members staying in each other's hoods. But nonetheless, man, like I said, this is a very underrated war in the city. All these hoods in these surrounding areas are extremely dangerous. But like I was saying before, it seemed like 11-8 in Athens got tunnel vision just on their beef. And with less than 50% of the murders being solved in this situation, this is how this war stay cracking, man. But nonetheless, make sure y'all stay tapped in with the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to keep bringing y'all that heat, man. Rap News, Street Politics, best hood channel on YouTube.